Right, buckle up everyone, because what I am about to show you is the political equivalent of watching someone's entire argument collapse like a house of cards in a windstorm. Picture this: Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, standing there on live television, probably thinking he has his talking points memorized, his rebuttals ready, his serious face properly calibrated for maximum statesmanship. And then Nigel Farage, the man who has made an entire career out of being the absolute bane of the establishment's existence, stands up and proceeds to systematically dismantle every single Brexit-related claim Labour has been peddling for the past few years. And Starmer's response? Well, let us just say it was less prime ministerial composure and more barely contained panic. The man absolutely lost it on live television, and honestly, it was glorious to witness. If you want to catch every moment of political chaos, every meltdown, and every time our beloved politicians get absolutely destroyed on camera, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Because trust me, British politics right now is serving up drama that you absolutely cannot afford to miss. So, let us set the scene properly here, because context is everything when you're watching a political demolition of this magnitude. Brexit, that wonderful topic that has dominated British politics for what feels like several lifetimes, is still causing absolute havoc, and Labour, under Starmer's leadership, has been trying to have their cake and eat it too when it comes to Brexit. They have been attempting this delicate balancing act of not alienating Leave voters while also keeping Remain voters happy, criticising the Brexit deal while also insisting they are not going to reverse it, complaining about the consequences while also claiming they can make it work better. It is political gymnastics of the highest order and about as convincing as a £3 note. Now, Farage has been watching all of this with what I can only imagine is a mixture of amusement and disbelief. This is the man who championed Brexit, who fought for it when everyone said it was impossible, who built his entire political identity around getting Britain out of the European Union. So when he sees Labour, a party that spent years trying to stop Brexit, now claiming they can manage it better than anyone else, you can imagine he's got some thoughts on the matter. And boy, did he share those thoughts in spectacular fashion. The confrontation begins with Farage asking what seems like a simple question about Labour's Brexit policy. But here's the thing about Farage's questions: they are never actually simple. They are carefully constructed traps designed to expose contradictions, highlight hypocrisies, and generally make his opponents look like they have no idea what they are talking about. And this particular question was a masterpiece of political warfare. He asks Starmer to explain how exactly Labour plans to improve the Brexit deal while simultaneously ruling out rejoining the single market, the customs union, or accepting freedom of movement. It's like asking someone to make you a cup of tea without using water, a tea bag, or a cup. Theoretically, you could try, but the result is not going to be anything resembling tea. Starmer's initial response is textbook political waffle. He starts talking about pragmatic solutions, about building better relationships with our European partners, about making Brexit work for working people. It's the kind of answer that sounds like it means something until you actually think about it for more than 3 seconds and realize it means absolutely nothing. He's using a lot of words to avoid saying anything concrete, which is impressive in its own way, like watching someone try to run across quicksand by moving their legs really fast. But Farage is having none of it. He immediately pounces on the non-answer with the precision of a surgeon wielding a scalpel, except instead of performing surgery, he's performing a political autopsy on Labour's Brexit position. He points out, with receipts and everything, that Starmer himself was one of the architects of Labour's second referendum policy. You know, the policy where Labour wanted to have another vote on Brexit, because apparently democracy only counts when you get the result you want. Farage reminds everyone watching that Starmer spent years trying to overturn the referendum result, and now he's standing there claiming he respects it and wants to make it work. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife, and Farage is absolutely here for it. This is where things start getting really interesting, because you can actually see Starmer beginning to lose his composure. His face is getting redder, his voice is getting higher, and his answers are getting more defensive and less coherent. He tries to pivot, tries to change the subject to Conservative failures on Brexit, but Farage doesn't let him escape that easily. He points out that yes, the Conservatives made mistakes, but at least they actually believed in Brexit. Labour, on the other hand, fought tooth and nail against it, and now wants everyone to believe they are the ones who can deliver its benefits. It's like hiring someone to manage your restaurant who spent years campaigning to have it shut down and then acting surprised when they're not particularly enthusiastic about it succeeding. Farage then brings up specific promises that Labour made during the election campaign about their Brexit policy. He quotes directly from their manifesto, from Starmer's own speeches, painting a picture of a party that promised one thing to leave voters and something completely different to remain voters, hoping nobody would notice the contradictions. And the beautiful thing about this approach is that it's not opinion, it's not spin, it's just holding up Labour's own words and asking them to explain the discrepancies. Watching Starmer try to reconcile these contradictory positions is like watching someone try to explain why they told their partner they were working late while simultaneously being tagged in Facebook photos at the pub. The evidence is right there, mate, and no amount of explaining is going to make it go away. The immigration aspect of Brexit comes up next, and this is where Starmer really starts to unravel. Farage asks about Labour's position on controlling immigration post-Brexit, given that this was one of the main reasons people voted leave in the first place. And Starmer, bless him, tries to thread this impossible needle of acknowledging people's concerns about immigration while also not wanting to alienate the metropolitan progressive base of his party who think any discussion of immigration control is basically fascism. The result is a word salad of epic proportions, full of phrases like managed migration and points-based systems and employer-led approach, none of which actually answer the fundamental question of whether immigration will go up, down, or stay the same under Labour. Farage absolutely eviscerates this response by pointing out that all of these buzzwords mean precisely nothing without actual numbers and commitments. He asks Starmer directly, what is your immigration target? How many people should be coming to Britain each year? Which sectors actually need foreign workers and which ones should be training British workers instead? These are basic, fundamental questions that any government serious about immigration policy should be able to answer. And Starmer, he can't answer a single one of them with any specificity. He just keeps repeating vague platitudes about balance and pragmatism, which is politician speak for we have absolutely no idea what we are doing, but we're hoping you won't notice. The economic consequences of Brexit become the next battleground, and this is where the gloves really come off. Farage challenges Starmer on Labour's claims that they can magically negotiate a better deal with the European Union without giving up any of the sovereignty that Brexit was supposed to deliver. He points out, quite reasonably, that the EU is not going to give Britain preferential treatment just because we ask nicely. They are going to want something in return, whether that's regulatory alignment, contributions to the EU budget, accepting European court jurisdiction, or any number of other things that would essentially undermine the whole point of leaving. So either Starmer is lying about being able to get a better deal, or he's planning to give away concessions that would make Brexit meaningless. Either way, the British public deserves to know which one it is. Starmer's response to this line of questioning is where he completely loses it. You can see the frustration boiling over, the carefully maintained facade of calm statesmanship cracking like ice on a frozen pond in spring. He starts raising his voice, starts interrupting, starts making personal attacks on Farage rather than addressing the substance of his arguments. It's the classic sign of someone who knows they have lost the debate and is desperately trying to change the subject through sheer volume and aggression. It's like watching a chess player who's 3 moves away from checkmate start flipping the board and claiming they were winning all along. What makes this meltdown particularly damaging is that it's happening on live television, broadcast to millions of people, recorded for posterity and instant replay on social media. This is not something that can be spun away later with a carefully worded press release or a friendly interview with a sympathetic journalist. Everyone can see with their own eyes that the Prime Minister is unable to defend his own Brexit policy when challenged by someone who knows what they are talking about. It's political theatre at its finest, except it's not theatre, it's real life with real consequences for how Britain is governed.
Farage, meanwhile, is absolutely in his element. This is what he does best, exposing the contradictions and hypocrisies of the political establishment while maintaining a veneer of reasonableness that makes his opponents look even more unhinged by comparison. He's not shouting, he's not ranting, he's just calmly and systematically demolishing every single one of Starmer's arguments with facts, logic, and pointed questions. It's masterful political combat, the kind that makes you understand why Farage has been such an effective political operator for so many years, despite every attempt by the establishment to sideline him. The fishing rights issue comes up, because of course it does, and this provides another opportunity for Farage to highlight Labour's inconsistencies. He reminds everyone that fishing communities were promised they would take back control of their waters after Brexit, and asks